You can start.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen and everyone can hear me, yes?
Yes, yeah. Give us a few minutes. We are just fixing the chair.
Okay.
Then now we are ready. We are all set up.
Okay. So just to let you know, in case something weird happens with my internet, hopefully I don't get dropped, but I have someone else that I work with in Oregon, and she signed on. She's one of my partners. And so that way, if something happens, it'll still be going on and I can come back. So just to let you know about that. And how do I want to say? I would like this to be as engaging as possible. There are going to be some times where you'll be writing down some journal questions. So hopefully everyone has a pen or pencil and something to write on. Yes? Do people have places to take notes? Yes? Okay. And there will be time at the end for question and answer. And what you could do is on the Facebook Messenger group chat, you could ask the questions there. And I can take questions at the end. However, if there's something that you would really like me to stay on and talk about more, rather than me going through all the slides, and if you want to just interrupt and say, well, wait a minute, can you give an example there, or what do you mean by this? You know, feel free to stop me. If we don't cover everything, that's fine. We can always create an opportunity later. So I want to go for quality versus quantity. Fair enough? Okay. So some housekeeping is self-care comes first. So I really appreciate that you're here this morning. Please, if something comes up, family first. If you need to leave to take care of some business, please do so. Hopefully you're comfortable. You're ready to go. I heard that there was some great food yesterday and you had breakfast. So whatever you need to do to be comfortable so you can be prepared to learn. And the mindset that I'd like to invite is to be open and curious to the information that I'm going to be providing. All right. So a little bit about me. Some of my experiences with appreciative inquiry and speaking is I've had the opportunity to speak at the University of Pennsylvania, the Oregon school system, the Arizona Bureau of Indian Education. That's a deep honor. Native American and indigenous people in Arizona, where I go to their reservation. They're a sovereign nation, and I do work there. I've spoken and presented to several governors here. And as mentioned before, appreciative inquiry at Case Western. So I'm very honored to receive training right there. I've met David Cooper Ryder, Ron Fry, Lindsay Godwin. So I say that not to brag or anything like that, but sometimes appreciative inquiry will be used in ways in maybe not the way it was intended. And so the further away you get from the source, it may deviate. So to know that I actually learned it right there where it was born in the 1980s. I'm very privileged and honored to have that. And I also got certification in Baltimore, in Maryland, the Children's Guild. They do a lot of great research on the brain, and I use those engagement techniques when I present. And I've also had over 20 years of experience teaching English, K-12, middle school, high school. I teach at a college, at a university around here. You know, I have been very fortunate to have a variety of experiences that I'm coming to you with. And what I'd like to do right now is if we just want to sit for a moment and set an intention. And if you want to take, I invite you to take a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And to just settle in, ground yourself to where you are. Take a moment. What are you grateful for? Or if there's anything in your mind, name that, acknowledge that, and release it. And we'll just sit here for about a minute so that we can be fully present. Remember to breathe. And a few more breaths. Noticing where the tension in your body might be and how to relax. And we'll finish in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At this time, would anybody like to share what intention they had set, or was there anything that you noticed or would like to acknowledge before we begin? Or how that made someone feel? I don't know if people are sharing out. I can't hear, but you can also put it in the chat on our Facebook group. All right. So when we share in the group, I'm thinking, yes, did you want to share?
Yes.
Thank you.
Since I practice breathing technique regularly, I have well acquainted with the result. So when we close our eyes before initiating or commencing any tasks, it makes our mind calm to proceed our work. And it's really becoming very interesting, sharing, exchanging ideas here and taking your instructions. Thank you.
Thank you. And mindfulness is something that the American school system is learning about. Some people embrace it. We wish those of us who practice more schools would observe that, but it's something that we're working on in the American school system. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Would anybody else like to say something before I move on?
Okay, please go.
Okay. So with appreciative inquiry, it's very important, and I'll be talking about appreciative inquiry and some of the practices that I'm doing right now. So I will unpack some of the decisions that I made when building this presentation to serve as an example. So when you use appreciative inquiry, it honors all voices in the room, and everyone has worth, everyone has value. And so rather than the instructor saying, we're here and this is why it's important to be here today, to ask everyone, why is it important for them? And when you enlist people's interest in what we're about to co-create, it builds energy and curiosity and enthusiasm. So thinking about, you were here for day one and now we're starting day two, I would like you to just take about a minute and jot down some thoughts. What about this event excites and inspires you? Take a moment to write that. And here's another thought jogger is, how might you bring your best self to this session? What can you do to make the most out of this? And so just take a moment and jot it down in your notebook. And also to be thinking about what you learned today, what you learned yesterday, and what you're about to learn today. What ways can attending this event add value to your purpose in the role that you play in your organization? So really start to be thinking about what about the time that we're here together, how that can excite you and elevate what you do. So take a moment and just journal that.
Then can I translate it? Can you give me a second to translate these all questions?
Yes, please.
Okay. Translate the खासै time दिन होला हैन त्यही पनि what about this event excites and inspire you? यो इभेन्टले किन प्रेरित गराइरहेको छ र किन प्रेरणा दिइरहेको छ? यो इभेन्टमा के छ त्यस्तो जसले हामीलाई उत्प्रेरित गराइरहेको छ? यो ट्रेनिङ इभेन्टले यसको एउटा लेखिहाल्नुस् न। नम्बर 2, तपाई भित्र रहेको एकदम अद्भुत राम्रो सबैभन्दा राम्रो कुरा चाहिँ यो ट्रेनिङमा कसरी ल्याउन सक्नुहुन्छ? हिजोकै प्रश्न हो। प्रश्न हामीले शेयर त गरेका थियौं तर थिंकिङ मिल्दो रहेछ। नम्बर 3, र यो ट्रेनिङले तपाईको जीवनमा तपाईको जीवनको भनौं न मूल्य मान्यता बढाउनलाई कसरी सहयोग गर्न सक्छ? अथवा अल्टिमेटली यो ट्रेनिङले तपाईको भावी जीवनलाई कसरी सहयोग गर्न सक्छ?
तपाईको अर्गनाइजेसनमा तपाईले खेल्ने रोलको लागि अनि तपाईको त्यो रोलमा यसले के कन्ट्रिब्युट गर्छ?
व्यक्तिगत जीवनमा अर्गनाइजेसनमा टु युर पर्पस इन द रोल यु प्ले इन ओके तपाईको संस्थामा यो ट्रेनिङले के महत्त्वपूर्ण भूमिका खेल्न सक्छ?
And so when people have jotted down their ideas, you can take a moment and share to the person next to you what you wrote. So we'll give you about 2 minutes to do that.
Okay.
Or if someone would like to come and share right in front. So we'll just give about 2 minutes to share out.
Okay, तपाईले लेखेको कुरा नजिकको साथीलाई सुनाउनुहोस्। तपाईको एन्सर के आयो? यसको एन्सर के आयो साथीलाई सुनाउनुहोस्।
जीवनमा सजिलो होस् यसलाई व्यावहारिक रूपमा लागू गर्न सजिलो होस्।
Okay, then
Yes.
Mr. Amin Oli in front of you, and he want to share his feeling because he is he only partial can see, he cannot write,
Yes.
so he want to
Yes,
respond to
please.
your question. So Ravin, please.
Hello, Jennifer. Maybe it's good evening there, but it's a morning here. It's
Yes.
nice to meet you. I have just learned about this appreciative inquiry approach very recently, and I thought I would get participated with Mr. RC sir's program, and it's been great in the second day, especially for me. The appreciative inquiry approach very much adapts to my real life, since sir has already mentioned you that I'm partially sighted or maybe a very low vision. So therefore I have a lot of things to feel negative about in my life, but through this approach I feel like I can appreciate the good things there are and look on the opportunities of what there are, of what qualities there are in me, and try to build up my life based on the opportunities and good things, and not to dwell over the negative aspects of my life. And it's been very great going through this program. Thank you.
Thank you. And I feel the same way. And so many things, if you look for it, you will find it. So you can find bad things, and that will confirm that outlook. And at the same time, when you look for good things, you'll find it as well. And there's neuroscience behind that to explain it, because when you look for something and then you find it, you get a reward. You get dopamine, and then
Yeah.
it's very addictive. So when you wire to find bad things and you find it, then you only get happy when you're unhappy. So if you flip that and get a reward when you find something good, then you'll want to keep on looking for good things. So it's a habit that you can build. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ravin.
Would anybody else like to share about what they're excited about to learn?
के घटना केमा एक्साइटेड रहेको छ कसरी सेयर गर्नुहुन्छ सृष्टि कैसे
Hello, Jennifer.
Hello.
Namaste. I'm Srishti Regmi. I'm people's representative of 2074 of local level election in my municipality, Burnanda municipality. I'm former deputy mayor. Firstly, I would like to share why I am as a participant of this AI practitioner. I have listened very much little earlier informally from RC sir and some of my relatives, and I was really much excited about this topic because this inspire to focus on positive vibes of our lives, to see all of our success point, and it ignores all of the negativity around us. And one of my reason to take this training was that I have seen during my tenure of working on local election and being very much near to the system of our country, government system, I have seen that there is a lack of hope in people not to see their capacity, and all of our chances are the reason of we can be success, capability of using sources around us. I have realized that these are the factor of our some of the reason of our failure, or not able to receive that success which we can. And I have realized that people around our society are bound with some of type of negativity. They are only sourcing that what we have not from what we are not able to get from government, from other stakeholder. They have never realized that what we can give and what we can do in our personal life. So getting this AI skill, I thought that it would be useful to share it with our locality, and wherever in the future, when in someday when I'll be able to be again cope in some authorized post, that I can use this AI. I have also realized that many of educated people or responsible person, they are also focused on only problem. I think you have also realized that we are always discussing on problem, reasons of our failure. We are not able to find the reason of the success, our positive factors. So I think this can be a copystone for our personal life, our professional life, to change the view of seeing our society, our future. So I was very much inspired to take this training, and I'm much very excited to use this in our future, in my own personal life and professional life. Thank you, Jennifer. And I'm
Thank
sorry because our English fluency is very much weak. We don't much practice it. So I hope you will consider it. Thank you.
thank you. And yes, personally and professionally, it can be very beneficial, and it's helped my relationships. It's helped my own mental health. And when you are in a position of government, then there's so much potential in that leadership role to change the way we have conversations. And when you focus on different elements and you focus on strengths and successes, and when people look to the government, they want to feel empowered, they want to feel confident in their government. And when you're having positive conversations, then that's going to instill trust in the people too, I feel. And as far as yes, and as far as the English is concerned, my husband is from Turkey, and so when we first met, our date was, I had to be very patient. So but he is very fluent now, but I'm used to being patient with people who are non-native speakers. So I married one. So
Thank you, Jennifer.
all right. So the fact that I'm the presenter and I'm asking people to speak in the very beginning, what that does is it takes away from like a power dynamic, right? And we're all in this together. So that's why it's so important to, whenever you're having conversations or teaching something or trying to accomplish something, that you enlist everyone in that experience. So that's the finding the purpose is deeply important. So I'm going to start off with some stories. We learn through stories and through narratives that's wired into our cultures all over the world. And so I'm going to be sharing these two stories, and then I'll have a question at the end. So the first one is about 3 stone cutters. And so there are 3 people, and they are all cutting stone in order to create a beautiful temple. And someone walks by and asks the first stone cutter, "What are you doing?" And the person says, "I'm cutting stone. This is my job. I need to make money to feed my family." Okay, well, okay, thank you. And then they walk to the second stone cutter and they said, "Well, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm cutting stone too." "Well, why are you cutting stone?" "Well, I'm cutting stone because I need to build this archway and I have to, put the stones on top of each other. They have to be level. And so I need to make sure that I am cutting the stone." And then walks to the third person. "Well, you're cutting stone too. Well, why are you cutting the stone?" And the person said, "I'm cutting stone because it's my way to contribute to creating a space for the community to come together and worship and share ideas. And that's why I'm cutting the stone." And so as you can see, finding that purpose is deeply important, but that's just the first part of the story. The second part is when the first 2 stone cutters heard the answer of the third person, they said, "Ooh, I like that. Can I change my reason? I want to be a part of that purpose to build the community." And so when you listen to each other and share each other's ideas, you add so much value to each other and you support the community. And so that's why it's within appreciative inquiry to be asking questions and letting people hear each other's answers. It's deeply important. So that's the 3 stonecutter story. The other one, I don't know if you're familiar with the story of stone soup, where a woman has a stone and she has it in her pot and fills it with water and she's stirring it over the fire and she's stirring. And someone comes up to her and says, well, what are you doing? And she says, I'm making stone soup. And they said, soup from a stone, you can't do that. And she's like, well, that's what I do. I make soup from the stone. And the person goes home and sees some potatoes and brings it back to her and says, you know what? I think your soup might be really nice with some potatoes. So I'll give that to you. Oh, thank you. Then another person comes and says, what are you doing? I'm making soup from a stone. Oh, well, I never heard of that before. And they go home and they see some nice spices and they come back to her and says, hey, would you like to have some of these spices? I think it would be good for your soup. And it goes on and on and on. So other person brings some root vegetables and some person brings some beans. And before you know it, she has this beautiful, beautiful soup. And then they all come back and she shares the soup with everyone. And so the purpose of that story is to show when everyone comes together and they all are sharing a similar purpose, then everyone contributes and it makes each person better for it. So 2 stories, both about stones. And so what I'm wondering is, which one of those stories resonates with you when you think of those 2? And if you think of it as a metaphor, which one to you aligns more with your values, with your understanding? So just think about that. And if somebody else would like to come up and share, which one of those stories did you prefer? And how does that awaken something in you? Or if you want to share to the person next to you. So let's just take a moment, share to the person next to you, which story did you like better and why? And if somebody wants to come up in front of the camera and say it so we can have it recorded, I invite you to do that. Let's just do that for about a minute.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good evening. Okay, personally, I resonate with Stone Soup story more because it consists of many people helping each other out to reach a common goal. So each people contribute something to the soup so that it makes a wonderful soup. So personally, I'm inspired by this stone soup story, and I also want to help people uh, in any way possible for them to reach their goal. And I'm here in this appreciative inquiry because sometimes I'm not able to accept myself as who I am. I see so many flaws in myself. So I want to appreciate me more and also the people around me. And sometimes I get hurt because I have so many expectations from the people. And I want to minimize the expectations and accept who they are and how they are. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And I always remind myself, how I can tell you're a very kind person. And I know you would treat your neighbors and your fellow persons with respect. And why we would not do that to ourselves, right? We have to be as kind to ourselves as we would be to our neighbor.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed those two stories, and if you're taking notes, pardon?
One more reflection.
Sure, please.
Okay, please come. Somebody.
Okay. Hello, Jennifer.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Okay, so I'm Samriddhi and I'm a filmmaker. So my job is basically working with a lot of people, with a team. You can't make films alone, maybe small scaled ones, but when you work in a large group, there are lots of people involved. So I could relate more with the stone soup theory that you explained the story. And seeing that story from a different angle, what I saw was by adding something to it, other people actually made the initial woman's soup better, because she was only trying to cook with the soup. So a huge part of my job is to bring out the best in others, from actors, from cameramans, because I'm working as a director. So most of my job is like not mine. It is so related. Everybody does their job, and my job is just to make their job better by seeing things from a different perspective. So I could relate more with that story. And sometimes in my field, you get annoyed with people because they have their own tantrums. And like, so appreciative inquiry, I think this training might help me to see things from other people's angle and be more patient with people. And especially the stone soup theory will help me in my profession and in my personal life because you know how to bring out the best in people by contributing your part in it. So that's what I learned. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And it's interesting being a filmmaker, like you have a vision, you
Yeah.
want to make the film, but you storyboard it and you have, just the very beginning, but other people make it happen. Just like what
Yeah.
she was doing is, was she even doing that on purpose? If I just stand here long enough stirring my pot with water and stones and I just share with people my vision, they will make it happen. So she was kind of directing the whole thing
Yeah.
as well. So that shared vision. And there's a framework or two that I think will be very useful for you that I'm going to be going over soon. So I'm
Yeah.
looking
Okay.
forward to getting to that to you. Thank you.
Thank.
All right, so we're going to start going through some of these slides and the frameworks, and I can give a copy of the slides as well afterwards. I can email it and you'll have it for later. And I'll be going through them. And again, if there's certain questions, you can put it in the messenger chat, or if you want to write it down and ask it at the end. Or if there's something that is really deeply important that you need me to stop and unpack more, I can do that. So the outcome of this session is really, once you listen to the frameworks and learn more about appreciative inquiry and how I have come to understand it and use it in my line of work, the outcome is that you're going to have meaningful conversations. You can see right here. And there's ways to do it with organizations, and someone had mentioned teams. You can do it when you have meetings, conferences like we're doing today. And there's so many different opportunities to improve relationships on these different levels. And so it will help relationships both individually and as organization. And really, it has the power to make a change and shift things very, very quickly. The way we use these frameworks that I'm going to be talking about, it's so simple, and yet it makes such a huge difference. I have just taught a college course in this to educators, and they immediately took some of these, did them in the classroom, and came back to me a couple days later, and they couldn't believe that they've been teaching a certain way for so many years. They tried this new thing, and it just unlocked so many things. So that's going to be the outcome, is to be able to use these frameworks. And towards the end, you're even going to practice it before we leave today. So here's a cute little comic, a little drawing about appreciative inquiry. It kind of sums it up right there. You can focus on the whole, or you could focus on the stuff that you got from digging the hole. So do you want to focus on that nice pile right there, or do you want to focus on the whole? And really, it's always about, just like what somebody was sharing in the beginning, focusing on the positive. That doesn't mean that you ignore challenges. Sometimes people say, oh, well, appreciative inquiry is just ignoring things. That's not true. But you look at it as an opportunity to improve. So even when you realize that there is an issue, there is a problem, there is something that you deeply want, but we're not there yet, how can we get there? And let's create that pathway. So in looking at organizations, because that's how it got started, was there's a lot of articles in the Harvard Business Review about appreciative inquiry. And David Cooper Ryder in the 80s was studying businesses that were doing well, as opposed to studying what not to do. Let's create models of what to do. And so within organizations, typically on the left-hand side, you have one person who's in power, and then they have a lot of answers, and then give those answers to the people below them, and then below them. And just like we're doing a train the trainer event, right? So if you're the leader, and then you have the idea and you bring it to a handful of people, and then they will spread it out and disseminate the information. That is the industrial model. Whereas over on the right-hand side, it's more about one person asking the right question at the right time, and everyone gets to contribute. So it's not like there's no leader, but what the leader does is less dictating and more facilitating. So to be thinking about that. And when you are able to ask those questions that inspire and excite people and unite us all for a single purpose. Here's another way to look at it. It's very similar to the previous slide, but I try to show it in different ways for different learning styles. The old way of leadership is in the bottom left-hand corner, where you have a person who gives orders. Do it this way. I'm telling you, you must do it this way, and the message gets sent all the way down. Whereas the new model of leadership is, instead of having one person having the answer, we have a lot of people examining the question and coming up with ideas. It energizes, it inspires, and it reminds me, I have 2 children, and it was a little trick that I would use to get my children to eat their vegetables, is I would ask them, what vegetable would you like? Do you want the carrots? Do you want the peas? Either way, they're going to eat the vegetable, but I gave them a choice. And I would ask them to help me prepare the food. And if you are part of that creation process, then there's more buy-in. So that is key to get people to buy into something and want to follow you, is when you ask their opinions and ask them to contribute. So I mentioned David Cooper Ryder. He's the founder of Appreciative Inquiry. He gets a lot of the credit. And this is a very famous quote from him, is that we live in the world our questions create. And that is deeply important, is that depending upon what question, you will find an answer. And it's so really very important to choose the right words at the right time. So there are some principles of conversations and how to engage people. And there's a couple of here. I'm going to go through them, and then I'll have a couple of slides for each one. So the first one is, the questions that we ask are fateful. It will determine people's fate by the way we ask questions. The next one is that questions change the lens which we view the world. Depending upon how you ask a question, it will totally shift people's perspectives. The next one is when you ask questions, it can energize groups when we focus on strengths as opposed to a problem. The questions must engage the whole system. Everyone who is part of a team should be included. And then finally, questions collect the wisdom of the community. When you have everyone contributing, it adds a richness to it. So if you look at the words, fateful, change, strength, engaging, and community, right there are those key terms. And like I said, if you want to take a picture of this, you can. I can also send you a copy of this slide deck after our event. I'll just give you a moment if you want to take a picture. Okay. All right, so there are 5 principles in AI. One is that words create our world. And so what that means is depending upon the words you use, every single word you use makes an entirely different set of possibilities. So if I ask or I tell someone a way to do something, for example, if I say to someone, don't run, the brain doesn't hear the don't, it just hears run. And if I say, please don't run, they'll hear run. But if I say, thank you for walking, it's more effective. So the words can totally construct our world. The next one, the poetic principle. If you think of a poem, there's multiple ways to analyze a poem. Depending upon your mood, you may focus on different parts of the poem, and you can interpret it in various ways. And that's the same in appreciative inquiry. What we focus on will expand, and it can also change. Nothing is fixed. Things can change at any time depending upon what you look at. And that's why I like this picture here, where is it birds or is it fish? And it depends if you're looking at the light or the dark. The next one, the poetic principle, excuse me, that says poetic, so it should be positive. I will change that, my apologies. Positive principle is a positive outlook inspires positive change. And let me change that here because I don't want to confuse people. My apologies. Positive principle, there we are. See, we're not perfect. I have to give myself grace and forgiveness for making a mistake. So positive principle, a positive outlook is positive change. If you look for something negative, you will find it. But if you look for something positive, you will also find it. And that inspires people. No one likes to be criticized. If I point out everything that's wrong with something, people don't want to fix it. I'm an English teacher. If I circle every single mistake that a writer makes, spelling error, grammar error, comma you missed, that's not going to want that person, they're not going to want to make their writing better. But if I highlight everything that I love about their writing and say, can you do more of that? Now, of course, they're going to want to do more. Same thing is true. And then the simultaneity principle, simultaneous, it happens at the same time. So as soon as you begin to ask a question, change can begin. When you ask a question, when you are truly curious, anything is possible. If you truly ask a question, that means you don't have the answer and something new can be created and born. And it all begins as soon as you ask that question. And then finally, the anticipatory principle. When you anticipate something, it's because you're looking to the future. And when you start to think about the future, it will change things right now in the present. When you look back at the past has already happened. But when you are talking about imagining the future, then you will inspire the change. All right. So in thinking about looking towards the future, I was just talking about the past. The past has happened. A lot of times people tend to look at the past and judge it. The advantage to looking to the past is if you are doing it through that positive lens. So these 5 principles all work together. So what I would like, I went through a lot right there with those 5 different principles and the 5 different questions. Take a moment and think of a time where a question created an opportunity to elevate your organization's culture. It could be in government, it could be in the filmmaking industry, or whatever your role is. Which guiding principles were most in play? If you think about these different questions about being faithful or changing the lens or analyzing strengths or engaging the system or collecting the wisdom, think of your area of your organization. Which ones of these do you think are most important in your organization? And so I don't know if you need to translate that at all, but let's just think about that and talk about that to your neighbor. And if someone wants to come in front again and share.
Okay. नजिकको साथीसँग कुरा गरौँ अनि त्यसपछि क्यामेरामा रेकर्ड गरौँ 5 वटा प्रिन्सिपल र 5 वटा उसको कुरा गर्नुभयो उहाँले हजुर questions that we ask are questions कुन प्रिन्सिपल कुन त 5 वटै प्रिन्सिपल लागु हुन्छ तपाई आफूमा चाहिँ कुन लागु हुन्छ
That's your facial.
Would someone like to share?
Yeah, quick questions. Questions that we ask.
So I'm excited to hear what people were talking about.
Maybe one can.
एकदमै छैन है मेरो
हामी त यो अलबाट अङ्ग्रेजी सिक्दै जाने
Good morning from Nepal.
Thank you so much.
I'm Anita Ole. In these 5 principles, I think the most important for me, analyze the strength. Questions energize when we analyze strength. Because when I ask questions to anybody in organizations or in our culture, not culture, in our society, then we need to find what type of questions that we have to ask to gain strength. That's why question energize when we analyze strength, but I cannot speak in a good way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And if you're speaking in your native language and as long as you are getting value out of the conversation, that is fine. And I honor you taking a chance and being brave to speak in English. Yeah, when you analyze strengths, it really does inspire. And is there someone else who would either like to add to that particular one, or maybe the conversation was talking about a different principle? Would somebody else like to share?
हामीले त हेरो भेटाए
रवि आऊ न
जब हामीले राख्यौँ
Hello, Jennifer, it's me again.
Yes.
Oh, well, regarding these 5 principles, I feel like words create our world. I believe in that, and I found that more relevant in life. Especially, I am the student of economics, and these things matter much in that field too. I don't know whether you know it or not. There was a Nobel Prize economist, Daniel Kahneman, and he was the pioneer of the field social intelligence, and the whole idea was like he did a lot of research regarding these frameworks. Like when you give the word in the questions, like in social researches, when you put the word in the questionnaire, that word is used like a primer to the person, and that determines what kind of answer you get. For example, the one I remember is like when you ask people, "Are you sad or are you happy?" You will get a total different answer regarding on the questions. Similarly, in even in social, even in all other fields, I guess this holds true. So for me particularly, I guess the principle that word creates our world is much relevant. And thank you.
Thank you. And with economics, it's all about the data. It's about the bottom line. And, you know, there's a tendency to say, well, look at this area. Our numbers aren't good right here. We need to fix it. We need to fix it. And if you fix the problem, all you get is a neutral state. But if you look at from economics, maybe a huge success, and then, you know, where all these numbers down here are not so good, there's one that's popping and it's a positive outlier. And to say, well, wait a minute, what's going on with that? Why are our sales so high in this one particular thing? What did we do that was right? And then take that and apply that to the issue. That will inspire people more than we have to fix this. We have to fix this problem now. Let's do it. Let's do it. No, let's take what was working well and replicate that. So thank you. All right. So the intersectionality with positive psychology. So there's the 5 principles, and look at this with positive psychology, there's 5 different principles as well. Now, David Cooper Ryder was in the 1980s, and so was Martin Seligman. And Martin Seligman is just 40 minutes down the road from where I live. I'm just outside Philadelphia, and he was at the University of Philadelphia. He still is there. Angela Duckworth with Grit. She comes from out of Penn as well. And they are so similar. With David Cooper Ryder, he was analyzing businesses and why were certain ones doing so well. With Martin Seligman, traditionally psychology would take someone who is in a crisis, who's having mental health issues, and say there's something wrong with you and we can fix it. Where Martin Seligman said, well, wait a minute, why don't we, instead of trying to fix people, let's create an atmosphere where people are well. So very similar, having a positive approach. Let's create what we want instead of waiting for things to break down and then we can fix it. So here it is, positive emotion. So what can we do with the human mind? What can we do to create happy feelings? Engagement, which is let's create opportunities for people to come together. Let's create a flow state. Have you ever done something where you were so engaged in that activity, you lost track of time? That's flow. Positive relationships. and how we relate to one another. The M for PERMA, the PERMA framework, is meaning, to do things with meaning and there's a reason behind it. And it creates that sense of meaning. And then the last one, to recognize when people have accomplished something or to achieve something. And so these are very similar to those 5 principles, talking about community, engaging all stakeholders, asking positive questions. So it's almost like appreciative inquiry and positive psychology in 2 different states. One was Ohio, one was in Pennsylvania. And it was like they cross-validated each other because they were applying different ideas in different ways, but yet they were so similar. So that is, if you want to do a deeper dive with positive psychology through the University of Pennsylvania, there's tons of resources, and it's Dr. Martin Seligman. All right.
Then I have one question.
Pardon?
Then, instead of second E like PE, if you write there PA, what happened? How do you spell it? Like how do you pronounce it?
PERMA.
Instead of PERMA. So PERMA is very famous Nepali word. We
It's
have
a
a
Nepali
PERMA.
word?
Yeah. So that means that taking support from other people. So it's a very famous metaphor in Nepal that the words indicate that if I need a borrow, I can take a borrow from my neighbors. I can borrow like his whatever service, and then after I finish my work, then after a few days I pay him like same way.
Okay. Well,
That is barter system, exchanging of the service, barter system.
Okay. And what's also interesting, are you familiar with permaculture?
Yeah, that is agriculture. that is related with the plant and science.
Yes. And so the idea that when you have 2 different areas, the mountains or the meadows or the land and the sea, that is the most fertile. And so it's a great metaphor for engaging diverse people. Sometimes people are afraid to get people who come together who disagree because it's friction and it's conflict. But really, what it does is when you have differences of thought, we can benefit from each other's differences, and it makes that more fertile and rich.
Exactly.
And that's where growth happens.
Yeah. So PERMA is a kind of system that making the life easy in our society.
Yes.
So before the commercialization of everything, that used to be a service exchanging system and then supporting mechanism. So thank you. just wanted to relate the PERMA and PERMA. So you learn one Nepali word, PERMA.
Oh, thank you, PERMA.
Okay.
Awesome. And that's so interesting. It's almost like there's a universal meaning to PERMA, right? Very cool. Now, that kind of is a good lead into my next slides, is biomimicry. And what biomimicry means is that biology is life, it's nature, and we as humans mimic nature. We are part of nature. Sometimes we don't feel like it because we've been so industrialized. But if you look at the picture on the left, one on the left of the left is a picture of a tree. It's a picture upside down, but it's upside down to show that what do trees do? They take in the oxygen and release take in the carbon dioxide and release oxygen. They're breathing, they're respirating. And the same structure is what our lungs look like, because we are performing the same action of exchange of gas and to breathe, trees and lungs. Over on the right-hand side, you have a bolt of lightning on the left of that right picture, up in the sky, lightning. And then the other picture is an axon in the brain, and it's a neuron firing. And both of them are electric, because we have electric impulses in our brain, and you have the lightning bolt in the sky. Another one that I love is the solar system, which is vastly huge. One of the largest things you can think of is our solar system. And you know what also looks like the solar system is the smallest unit, and it's an atom, because they're going around and the electrons orbit around the nucleus, right? So functioning systems that function similarly have similar structures. And so what that means is we can get our clues from nature on how to create areas of flourishing and to thrive. There's a term called heliotropic, which means that most things grow to the light and don't thrive in the dark. There's exceptions, but in general, things grow to the light. So do we as people. When we ask questions that enlighten us and inspire us, and the positive, light-giving questions, that creates the life. Here's another thing too that I love, are fractals, where you have a repeated pattern. You have broccoli over on the left-hand side, and a flower, Queen Anne's lace, and you'll see it is a pattern that is repeated over and over again. There is intelligent design, the way things are organized, and we can do the same thing in our organizations, where we create a structure and it repeats and repeats. And some of the frameworks that I'll be showing you, you can use the same framework in so many different situations and repeat it until it becomes our organization's operating system, much like a fractal. So I just like those visuals. All right, so here's one of the frameworks. And again, feel free to take pictures if you want. We started doing this, the PAIR framework. We started out today asking about the purpose. Why is it important to be here? And then we were appreciating things from the past and different conversations that you had where you saw the different principles. And then we're going to do two others, imagine and reflect. This was created by a woman by the name of Mo McKenna. She is from Canada. She was a leader in Xerox in the 1970s. She was the first female in Xerox to be in a leadership position. And what she did was she took appreciative inquiry and simplified it so that you can take people through a purpose, appreciate, imagine, and reflect, and do that in 15 minutes, just in conversations. To ask, why are we here? Let's learn from our past. Let's look to the future. And what can we do right now to make those strengths from the past, bring them through to the future? It's such a powerful tool. Here's another framework. It's called Name It, Flip It, Frame It. And what that is traditionally you try to fix a problem. You focus on the problem and you try to fix it. With this, you acknowledge that there's an issue. So you know, again, the idea of appreciative inquiry just pretends that there are no problems. That's not true. But what you do is you look at the problem. What's the opposite of that problem? So there's something you don't want. What's the opposite that you do want? And you switch it and you flip it. And then you create a question that inspires the desired outcome. So I'll give you an example. And I'll give you an example because I'm a teacher. If there's a student that is always coming in late, they're late all the time, they can never get to school on time. And then what's the opposite of that? Well, maybe they get there early or at least on time. That's the opposite. They're late, The opposite is that they're there on time, ready to learn. Why is it that you want the student there on time? Do you really care about the time on the clock when they get there? Or is it because when they're there on time, they're able to fully participate? They don't miss class. They're adding value to the learning community. So what you do is you talk to the student, and let's say one day they happen to be there on time, one day, and you say, hey, listen, I noticed that you were there on time today. I'm so happy that you did that. And I'm wondering, how could we have more days like today where you're on time? Because did you notice you were able to answer questions, you were less stressed, you were ready to learn, and you really helped your classmates. So what can we do so you can be on time more often? So different than you're late. If you're late again, one more time, you're going to be in trouble. That does not make them want to get there on time. It's actually going to have the negative effect. So anything that there's an issue, you flip it, make it the opposite of what you want, and ask a question to get to that desired outcome. This is from a book called Conversations Worth Having. And it was by Jackie Stavros and Sherry Torres. And I can give you some of these resources after the event. But Conversations Worth Having, a very simple read, very good read, and very useful. Someone was talking about economics, so I don't know if you've ever heard of a SWOT analysis with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you're trying to be strategic with your planning, trying to create an action plan, well, why would I want to analyze my weaknesses? Why do I want to talk about who's threatening me? That's going to get me into a state of anxiety and not productivity. If anything, people are going to want to ignore that. So instead, a SOAR analysis, strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results. Similar process, but you are not paying attention to anything negative. And there's tons of questions here. For your strengths, what makes us unique? What makes us special? What do we do better than anybody else? With opportunities, what do we want more than anything else? What are our deepest desires? What can we do? For the aspirations, what do we care about? What are our values? And then finally, the results that we want. What can we measure so that we know we're successful? Kind of like a SMART goal. And this is a way to lead people through different questions to be very strategic, only focusing on positivity. So John Kelly from IBM, he says the ability to ask all the right questions will be the mark of true genius. Sometimes people think smart people know all the answers. Smart people know the right questions. And to realize that that is a strength, is to ask people questions, you're curious, and it actually builds trust. When you ask people questions and you listen to their answers and then you act upon that regularly, that's a strong leader. To say, hey, listen, what should we do here? What do we want to do? All right, we did the pair framework where the purpose, and then we did the aspiration, and here's imagining. So we're gonna get a little playful. Imagine implementing some of the frameworks that I just went through. And I can go through them again if you would like. I can review them. But think about those different frameworks. Name it, flip it, frame it, the pair framework, the SOAR analysis. How do you see your work culture benefiting from these strategies? What strengths will you need to bring so all voices can be heard? So take a moment and think about which ones of those might I do and how could that benefit my workplace in the future? Take about 2 or 3 minutes and then we can share out.
What strength we need to bring to the table so all the voices can be. हाम्रो टेबलमा सबैको कुन स्ट्रेन्थ आयो भने सबैको आवाजहरू एकत्रित गर्न सकिन्छ कुन कुराहरूलाई चाहिँ टेबलमा ल्याउनु पर्यो
So we have the SOAR, the name it, flip it, and the pair. So think of those and which one do you feel will benefit the future of your organization the most? And when people are ready, they can come to the computer again.
अल्छी लाग्ने भित्र लाग्ने अनि थ्योरी मात्रै पढाउने हैन विद्यार्थीलाई हटार्ने प्रकारको हुन्छ के भयो सबै अपोजिट बनायो भने फ्लिप गर्ने बुझ्दैन भनेको थियो भनेर आइहाल्यो यो राम्रो थ्योरी हो मेडिटेसन पनि लागु हुन्छ मेरो जीवनमा लागु SWOT analysis पहिला हामी SWOT analysis गर्थ्यौँ यो SWOT analysis गर्नुपर्ने भयो भने अनि यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले SWOT analysis गरेको मान्छेहरू विकनेसको ठाउँमा हामीले अपर्च्युनिटी हेर्नु डिफरेन्ट छ हामीलाई पहिला गरेको SWOT भन्दा SWOT भनेको स्ट्रेन्थ हेर्नु त्यसलाई फेरि अपर्च्युनिटीको रूपमा हेर्नु हामी धेरै प्रयोग गरेको यो विधि
खाली टाइममा एउटा कुरा मैले के अघि जुन भन्न खोजेको थिएँ नि साथीहरूलाई चाहिँ मलाई बुझाउन मन लाग्यो के भन्न खोजेको थिएँ भने त चारवटा कुरा थियो यो होइन यो त छँदै थियो अघि त्यो स्ट्रेस तपाईँले कुन कुन बाटोबाट चाहिँ कुन चाहिँ सिक्दा चाहिँ बढी उपयोग हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा थियो नि अघिको अघि थियो कि
के फरक पर्छ के फरक पर्छ भन्नु
होइन के भन्न खोजेको थियो भने यो तीनटा चार पाँचवटा मैले तीनटा चाहिँ फरक थियो है भन्न खोजेको थिएँ कि मैले होइन उहाँलाई त ट्रान्सलेटर चाहियो त्यो भन्नु होइन म त यहाँ गएपछि टोटली ब्ल्याङ्क भयो कि
Is someone ready to share?
You share. So anybody want to share more? Pratibha, you might please come.
हुन्छ तपाईको सेमिनार प्रतिबद्ध गर्नुहुन्छ हाम्रो चाहिँ हजुर भन्नुस्
Hi again.
Hello.
Okay, everyone.
Okay,
So yeah, everyone's discussion.
Same time we had a tea break, so and discussion and tea break. Okay. Okay.
So yeah, we talked about this. I talked about this among my friends here in the discussion, and I think the name it, flip it, frame it theory, it inspired us more. And so I'd like to address this by stating an example that recently happened with me in my workplace, since you also asked about how do you see your work culture benefiting from these strategies. So what happened was there was this huge actor, a singer, sorry. He was a huge celebrity. So I had to shoot a videotape of him, and I had to make him say some lines, and he was unable to say those lines, you know. So it can be seen in two ways. I can either go and ask him like, hey, why are you not saying those lines? Those are really simple lines, just say it, don't waste our time. I can also say that, right? But what we did was we gave him a break, and we took him for a coffee, and we asked him, so what's the problem, why are you uncomfortable? Why are you unable to speak those simple lines? How can we make you comfortable? So he said that he was uncomfortable because of the dress he was wearing. He didn't like it and he didn't want it to be seen in that dress. So it was like flipping it, you know, asking the right question, and then we were able to flip it. So after that, we framed it as the strategy said. We gave him the kind of dress that he wanted to wear, and then he said those lines in a very nice way. So I think that is the framework that I can relate the most. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, it's interesting because we don't know everything. And when you're honest with the question, you know, if you said like, hey, what's wrong with it? Why can't you say your lines? You know, what's wrong with you? It's not really an open-ended question. It's more a statement and a criticism that sounds like a question. But really when it's like, hey, listen, we are so excited to have you in this project. We know it's going to be great when we finally print it and produce this. And we're wondering, what can we do to support you to make your job easier as an actor? And if he says, well, yeah, actually my outfit, it's like, I feel uncomfortable, I get nervous, and that's why I can't do it, then it's you know, so open-ended. So thank you for bringing a very real life example.
Thank you.
Would somebody else like to share? I know we're starting to come up towards the end, and I do have another activity. And so I'm going to look to you if we need to wrap it up, or I want to save some time for questions. So I'll look to you to decide what we do.
Black tea. यहाँले डिस्ट्र्याक्ट भइरहेछ सो के थियो नेक्स्ट अरु
Did we want to share, or shall I move on?
Yeah, Pooja is coming. Pooja is coming.
Hello.
Hello.
Among these three, our group chose the SWORE analysis framework, that the knowing the strength and getting the opportunities and the aspirations, what we want, and the result, finding the result. We can relate this like getting someone to know how they are by applying this by knowing their strength and giving them opportunities and the aspirations what they expect, and we can find the results. I think this much.
Thank you. So that's to have that clarity and deep understanding of what you want. Thank you.
Okay, then how long was
Yes.
maybe you were feeling too sleepy, you know, this is already 1.5 hours. So
well, it's up to you. I'm fine to go, but I don't want to cut into other people's sessions. So if you would like me to, since there's no new content, what I was going to do is give some scenarios and have people try it with the scenario, or because then they immediately practiced it and then do a little closing activity. Or if you think that people have had enough of working with it and just I can entertain some questions. So it's up to you, because you're there.
So
and you
maybe we have to go for the next session, and this is the time for break also. So maybe you can move for the closing activity.
Closing activity? Sure.
Yeah, summarizing it all and then closing, and then if you can manage the time, so we can take your time tomorrow 1 hour also, if same like today.
Oh, you want me to come back tomorrow? Did I hear that correctly?
If you want.
Okay. So let me do this closing activity just because it's fun. So
Okay.
you'll see book messenger group. I did put this slide deck so people have it.
Okay, you
And
can send me email also.
pardon?
You can send me these. You can send this all slide in my email.
Okay.
Okay. Also, you can share in the messenger group so that everyone can have access.
Okay. And then I'll do both. And then if people can go into this Mentimeter on their phone, and the question that I have is basically here, thinking of your organization and where you work, and thinking of these different frameworks and the deeper understanding that we now have of appreciative inquiry. Thinking of one-word phrases, you know, joy, laughter, courage, just one words. What can you commit to bringing more of into your organization?
Okay.
All right. And so I have, if people are able to access that on Facebook, we'll create a word cloud.
Okay.
So are people able to access the Facebook Messenger?
Yeah.
So that's what they need to do, is what one-word phrases can people commit to bringing into their organization once they go back to their work.
So is that homework? Is it a homework or like?
They can do it right now if they go on to the Facebook
Right now.
Messenger.
Okay. Okay, make
Just
one word phrase that can bring the people.
To their workplace, yes.
One word phrases you can bring to bring the people all together. Yes. So do you think they have to reply it in the messenger group, or?
If they go on to the messenger group and go on to the link, it gives them this to fill out.
Let me check out. Okay, yeah. Okay, interrupt or one word. Okay. Bye. Okay. Okay, then I have one question.
Yes.
I have access of that one word phrases you can bring. Means, do we need to write a word there that can bring the people together in?
Yes. So thinking of, you have everyone who attended this session, and what words can they make a commitment to invite more of into their organization, or what qualities can they bring more of as their strengths to their organization. So these positive words.
So maybe can I write happiness?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So
Joy.
do we need to write it in here?
Yes, and you don't have to do 10, but just different one words that they want to bring more of or be more of, and then they hit enter at the bottom, submit.
So do we need to write only 1 or 10 in all our
as many as you want?
As many. Okay.
Yes.
यो सबै हेर्नुहोस् त एकचोटि आफ्नो मोबाइलमा हेर्नुभयो हैन अब मेसेन्जरमा आएको छ यो सबै हेर्नुहोस् अब तपाईको संस्थामा मानव तपाई कुनै संस्थामा हुनुहुन्छ यदि तपाईको संस्थामा काम गर्ने व्यक्तिले कुन त्यस्तो वर्ड दिएर त्यो संस्था भित्र आयो भने त्यो संस्था चाहिँ एकदम इन्ट्याक्ट हुन्छ पोजिटिभ हुन्छ उदाहरणको लागि स्माइली फेस डिस्ट्र्याक्ट भइरहेको छ प्रत्येक टेबल टेबलमा सोध्नु यहाँ भेज कोही एकजना यहाँ लेख्नु पर्यो कि हामीले अथवा अरू स्टाफहरू कुन त्यस्तो शब्द सहित मान्छेहरू आओस् भन्ने हामी चाहन्छौँ ओके स्किल हुन सके तर त्यसले ह्याप्पिनेस ल्याउन पर्यो अघि भनेका कुराहरू ल्याउनु पर्यो के त्यो स्वरको लागि सुटेबल हुनु पर्यो त्यो चाहिँ पोजिटिभिटीको लागि सुटेबल हुनु पर्यो शब्दले संसार बनाउँछ भनियो नि कस्तो शब्द चाहिन्छ त हाम्रो संस्थाभित्र कस्तो शब्दहरूको कुरा हुनु पर्छ आउने इम्प्याथी हुनु पर्ला सिम्प्याथी हुनु पर्ला हो त्यो कुरा यहाँ लेख्नु पर्यो के जति सकिन्छ बढीमा अनि लास्टमा तल गएर सबमिट गर्ने जति लेख्न सके नि भयो आज बारले गर्दा होला नि कस्तो वर्डै नआएको आयो तपाईँले भन्नुभयो सबैले यो गर सेन्ड गरिदिनु ह्याप्पी हेल्दी स्माइल कसको आयो मेरो लामो रातोको आयो pleasant.
And then when people see what other people put, I'm pretty sure people can then go back in and make different words bigger.
Okay. Champion, punctual, cooperative, smiley, healthy, collaborative, happy, energetic, wise, self-respect. So we have very limited vocabulary. If you were asked what the negative words, then we could write thousands of words. Our stock is very much limited, and today I am going to talk about the vocabularies.
Okay, well, and the thing too is this is from Mentimeter, and the tool is very valuable because you're collaborating, you're theming out. The larger words mean that more people put that. And you can go back, and if someone said, oh man, transformation, that's such a good idea, I wish I had thought of that, you can go back in and make it bigger and upvote it. So it's a very useful, fun tool that can bring a lot of people together. You have the ideas, you can download it, save it for later, and then this becomes your core values within your organization. So you can do a lot with this tool.
And now you can see, like, we are 20 people here, 20 to 22 people are holding the mobiles, and hardly 20 words are there. It's very sad. We need more training there. You have to take more class. Because you are English teacher,
Healthy. That's good. Help families. Enthusiastic. So, and then you see, like, once people start doing it, then more people come in. So
yeah, it's like opening the lock when it's unlocking. Now it's being unlocked.
And in real time.
Okay.
Self-love.
So can you find who writes what word? Can you find whose word is which word? Who wrote which word?
That you can't do, which is also kind of a good thing, because that way people are anonymous and it creates psychological safety.
that was I that what I wanted to know,
Mhm.
so that every people think that are my words, you know.
Mhm. Well, and then everyone's voice is heard that way because you can put it together. Now, there is another technology tool that I use where people can put their names to it. It's a sticky wall. And that's something different, but I think this is a nice way to start a presentation. It's also a nice way to finish a presentation. I see dignity, honest, loyalty, laughter. And so in appreciative inquiry, the phrase, how might we, is such a great phrase. So how might we become more forgiving or enthusiastic? How might we create a culture of self-respect? What does that look like? What does that feel like, sound like?
Right.
And so something like this could be in the define stage of the 5D cycle. And then that this could be part of the design session. So this starts out the define session and then doing the design session with using this word cloud as the guidepost.
Right. So today we are doing the define session. We are going to choose the affirmative topic choice. So this may be a good reference. So Ganesh ji is one of our friends here. He is asking how we can get these words. Will you say it?
What I can do is when people are finished, there's 11, but I can, you'll see here. Let me get out of. What I do. Okay. So then what I can do right here is it says, I can download it.
Okay.
So view results and I can download it for you so you can have a copy of it.
Okay. So, okay. Can I invite anyone to reflect how did they feel in this session? If you are in the last stage of the session. Did you hear me or not?
Oh, I thought you were inviting.
Can I invite some of the participants to have a reflection of your session?
Oh, sure. I thought you were saying that to them.
Oh,
yes.
No. Just I want to invite anyone who want to come and reflect the session. How did you feel? Pratibha, Samriti, Romin, or Pooja, Manisha, or Ganeshi, Ambika, Kamla. Maybe I will invite some Pratibha and Samriti too. Okay, you can come. They are great star of the training. So.
Hello once again. Okay, I think it's a bit of a language problem. That's why no one is willing to speak because of our fluency in English language. Otherwise, I think everyone is pretty much inspired by this interview. It's just a communication problem. So, to reflect on this meeting, I think it gave me a different perspective about a lot of things. I have heard about SOT. I have been doing SOT in most of my projects. Whenever I have to make a presentation about projects, I was writing about SOT. I used to do it in a lot of projects. So now I hear another term, it's SOAR. So it gave me a new perspective. And similarly, there are lots of things that we are naturally doing, but we don't know that we are doing it. The name it, flip it, frame it framework, as I told you. So I was already doing it, but I didn't know that it was a framework that changed things positively. It sort of came naturally to us, you know. So after this training, I think we discovered more things about ourselves that were positive. We were already doing certain things, you know, but we didn't know that we were doing it. But after you said them in a very organized and a structured manner, now we are reflecting on ourselves. Okay, I was already doing it, but this is a good thing, and I was doing a good thing. And the thing that the words that most inspired me during this presentation was, don't judge your past, or appreciate it. What was that? It was one of the principles, you know. So I think today the major cause of mental health issues among us is because we judge our past very harshly. We judge ourselves how we were in the past. So that word inspired me very much because we are always like, I did this mistake, I did that mistake, I was doing this in the wrong way. That's why today I'm not successful, or today I'm not where I want to be. But I think that whatever we did, it's the reason that we are here today. So that line was very inspiring to me. You know, don't judge your past, appreciate it. So it was inspiring because if we see life in that way, then it helps us to become happy ourselves first, appreciate ourselves first. And if you don't appreciate ourselves first, and the things that we have done in the past, we cannot appreciate anyone in the future, or you know. So thank you very much. It was a wonderful session.
Thank
And
you.
I would like to say that from everyone's side here. Yeah.
Thank you. And what I heard when you shared was you already do so many things right. And so it's acknowledging that, creating awareness and validation that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
That is the character of Nepalese girls. They are so smart but very shy to speak.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
So this program was completely new for me, and I guess for most of us present here. And I'm thankful for the opportunity, and I want to thank RC sir, and thank you as well for this program. Help us learn so many things that we can utilize, and in long run in life it's gonna help us in so many ways, like these all the principle about pre PERMA and SWOT and peer framework, and all of the principles are the golden principles for life. And yes, and also I'm not nervous. Sorry for that.
You are
No,
nervous?
that's fine.
Flip, yeah. Flip, name it, flip it, and frame it. This was the principle I was most inspired about. Uh, Rather, and also the another principle. What was that?
Source. Instead of source, we find a new word, source.
Yeah, positive principle. Positive outlook inspires positive change. This principle, and also the poetic principle, how we view things. Like when you view a glass of water, how we view it. We view it as it is half full or half empty. It is based on our perspective, how we see things. And that's all I want to say. I'm a bit nervous here. Hello.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone? What else you want to reflect? Okay. Okay, Jen, thank you very much. It was really wonderful session, and then you worked hard. That is reflected in your session. So you covered everything, like you covered.
I basically, yes. There was going to be an activity to practice some of it more. That's fine. One favor I have is can you take the camera over, and I'd love to get a picture of everyone.
Oh, I think I will send you the picture, but if I disconnect it, okay, I will try it, because so many things are connected here now.
Okay.
Hello. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now this side. So we have video record, then I will send you.
Thank you so much.
And then is supporting me so many ways. She edited the language. Let's do AI, and then she helped to furnish the song. So I think today I got one music director, that is Samriti going to. I am thinking like Samriti will make the video or something like that. Wow. So because I didn't know she's a director, so maybe I'm very much hopeful, and then something is. So thank you, Jen. So hopefully we'll see you in Nepal, and this group will love to see you, meet you.
I would love that. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Wish you all the best, and then we will discuss if there are any rooms like to see you tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. We have 2 more days. Please suggest me. I will manage the time for your session. So you have done everything, like you talk about the appreciative inquiry, you talk about the prema model, and you learn the prama, and
Yes.
you talk about SOAR, and you also talk about the very new, then even that is very much good learning for me. Thank you very much sharing about the PIR.
Yes,
The framework.
pair.
Yeah, peer framework. So thank you very much, and wish you all the best. And then we will take the break, and then we will discuss, and we will move forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.